So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a trade recap of the trades that I took today, Monday, January 3rd on Tesla, both to the upside. I did have some order entry issues, so you're going to see that. Unfortunately, sometimes when it comes to trading, there's things that you cannot control, and this was one of those today. But there was the big Q4 deliveries beat, and that first trade that I took was a dip and rip. Like I've mentioned in my prior videos, I'm really trying to get aggressive entries, and this is going to be a good example of that. Something that I'm really going to work hard on this year is getting those aggressive entries, pullbacks to support, or pops to resistance when it makes sense, because I know that I can add a lot to my P&L. And now let's check out the newsletter watch list. So I was looking at Tesla. That was the main watch. I think it was all eyes on Tesla because of that news. Nvidia, Rivian, and PayPal. And to the left of that, this is my private Twitter. This is what I post 30 minutes before the open each day. This is my game plan, why I'm watching the stocks that I am, and all the levels that I'm interested in trading around. If you're interested in getting access to this, it's $29 a month. So for $1 a day, you can give it a shot. If you don't like it, you can just cancel, but there's going to be a link in the description below. So now let's get into the technicals, starting with Tesla. I really wanted to see this stay below 1138 prior to the open because that was a nice tight range that it was in. But of course, stocks don't do what you want them to do. So it broke that 1138 and had a really nice move higher. I wanted to see it kind of stay around this area, and then if it could pull back to 1130, 1125, even 1120, I thought that those would be really good support areas that if it dipped to could be aggressive entries. But it had the big move higher just before the open, so the levels that I was looking at was going to be pre-market high, and if for some reason there was some weakness off the open and they wanted to sell that news, pre-market low was going to be the main level to the downside. But now that it had that big move, if it pulls back, there's some new support areas. So 1145 to like 1138 is going to be a big area of support. If it pulls back quickly to that, I felt like it was worth buying that dip. And now Nvidia, and the reason why I was watching this is because it's still strong and it's right at all the short-term moving averages, the 9 EMA, the 20 SMA, and it held the 50 SMA the prior day. 4 red candles in the row on the daily, so I felt like maybe there was a chance for it to bounce. In order to do so, first it had to take out pre-market high because it had to gap up. And that was the main level to the upside I was looking at, and pre-market high was 299.90. And then if for some reason there was some weakness off the open and it wanted to start to sell off, just knowing where pre-market low was, and it was at 296.70. And now Rivian, and the reason why I was watching this is because it had a huge move a handful of days ago, and it's now been in sideways consolidation since. It's above the 9 EMA, so I thought if it could take out pre-market high because it had the gap up, and then maybe it could catch a little bit of momentum. It also did have this prior high at 107.49. If it clears that, maybe it could have a really good day. So the main level to the upside was going to be pre-market high, which was 106.29, and then if for some reason this wanted to start to sell off, knowing where pre-market low was, and that was at 104.80. And now PayPal, and the reason why I was watching this is because look at this sideways consolidation. It has been pretty beat up on the daily chart, above the 9 EMA and the 20 SMA. Feels like it's ready for a breakout day. When that day is going to happen, I have no idea, but I thought it was worth having on watch. So the main level to the upside that I was interested in was going to be pre-market high because it had the gap up, and that was at 193. And then the main level to the downside, in case this wanted to be weak, start to sell off, was going to be pre-market low at 191. So now to break down what happened on Tesla off the open. So it had a nice pullback, which I like. If I'm going to do any sort of dip and rip setup, I need to see it pull back first. And it comes right into this big area of support, 1140, also knowing it's the VWAP. So this is an area that I think is worth buying. So when it dips into this, this is where I go long. And then as far as the game plan, I know that when buying dips, it's hard to be perfect. So I just want to see that 1140 eventually kind of reclaims and then it bounces off of that. And then my target, I really am trying to hold for a pre-market high break. But I don't want to be stubborn and just hold because I want to see the dip get bought and then I want to see it start to really move towards the upside. If it starts to show some weakness or has any sort of rejection, just in case if this can quickly roll over, you never know, I want to get out of the way. So it has the quick pullback, just knowing that that 1140 is an area of support. This is where I go long. Look how long this order took to fill though. It took a little bit to fill, and I already knew in the back of my mind that maybe the volatility is just pretty high. So who knows with the execution. So I know I need to be careful, but I ended up getting long the 1150 calls, 5 of them, and I got filled at $34.60. And then it did take a quick dip and it went below that 1140, but really quickly got bought back up. That 1140 area needs to hold. And then I just want to see, can this get over the high of day and possibly break that pre-market high for a nice trade? Very quickly gets bought back up from 1140. It's about to take out the high of day. And now I just want to see it clear the high of day and continue to go really quickly for that pre-market high break. So when it comes up to that high of day, it does have a bit of a rejection. And just knowing that Tesla is up a lot on the day already, when it has that push, comes into 1150 and look at all the size on the offer. And when it could not break, and then it pulls back pretty quickly just to be safe. I did not want to be involved in something pulling back a lot harder than I expect. Pretty quick rejection. I wanted to see that get through, hold up, and break that 1150. And then this is where I try to get out. And look how long this order has taken to fill. I eventually do get filled on those 5 contracts at $34.15 for a small loss. So right now at this point, knowing that those 2 orders got hung up and took a little bit to fill, my confidence was not high. I felt like maybe this is not a time to be pushing it because if the volatility is really high and these orders are having an issue, I don't want to get into something and then maybe for some reason I can't get out quickly and I take a big loss. But here's the second trade on Tesla because it was a good setup. I made sure to size down to be careful. It had the high at 1150, also set the low. So if it makes a new high, this looks like a good upside opening range break with a technical level above pre-market high. And as it starts to speed up and it quickly breaks that high a day, I end up going long. 3 call contracts, the 1150s again, and I got filled at $36.20. And then it had a nice pop in my favor, took out that pre-market high. I wanted to see the pre-market high break and then hold above. Starts to reject at it right there. And just to be safe, I ended up selling those contracts at $37.55. And after those 2 trades and the uncertainty with the fill situation, I ended up just calling it a day. Did have that loser on the first one, got that loss and a little bit more back, and ended the day up $180. Not very exciting, but when I have platform issues, I don't ever want to push it, so I will gladly take a small green day and just call it. So that was the trade recap video. I appreciate you watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I just wanted to highlight a couple cool things I have to offer. The first is going to be my newsletter watch list. This is going to be what I post on my private Twitter 30 minutes before market open every day. And what I'm doing is I'm doing a very quick highlight of the SPY, the Qs, the bigger picture, the upside level that I'm looking at, the downside level that I'm looking at, the market news or the catalyst that day. And then I'm going to list 4 to 6 names that I'm watching, my favorites that day, and then the catalyst behind them if there's any news, the bigger picture idea, what's going on the daily chart, and then the levels to the upside and the downside. And then I add some mental notes at the bottom, kind of what I'm thinking that day, make sure to keep my expectations in check and follow my process. And the second thing is going to be a one-on-one call. So if you want something that's less of a commitment and you just want to talk to me about my process and how I approach the market, this is going to be great. It's a one-on-one live call for 1 hour. So if you're interested in any one of these 2 things, there will be links in the description below. Feel free to check them out.